my name is Annie Lee, and today I'll be talking about peer pressure and its impact on adolescent mentality. As a prominent part of adolescent social groups, peer pressure has caught the attention of many researchers, and through their research, they have found that peer pressure has the greatest impact on the age group of adolescents. The National Library of Medicine reports that approximately 85% of high schoolers have felt peer pressure before in their lives. So why exactly are teenagers vulnerable to peer pressure? Research done by Dr. Emily Falk at UPenn shows that teenagers are especially susceptible to this kind of pressure due to their brains undergoing changes during puberty. The specific brain change takes place in the striatum, this red region right here, and it deals with reward processing. It becomes hyper-responsive, subsequently resulting in greater reward seeking. And this suggests that adolescents conform to peer pressure due to their overwhelming desire to fit in and feel accepted. And to support this, the Surveillance Public Data Bank found that 28% of students claim to fall into peer pressure because they move up the social ladder. So to maintain their high social status and their sense of acceptance, adolescents will continue to succumb to peer pressure. The high number of peer pressure in adolescents, 85%, have prompted many researchers to dive deeper into this problem, and the National Library of Medicine states that the presence of peer pressure has been a major factor in increased levels of stress, anxiety, and suicide rates. And all this research combined has led me to my research question: to what extent does peer pressure affect the mental state of adolescents? After the research I conducted and all the evidence gathered, I argue that peer pressure does more harm than good to an adolescent's mental health. First and foremost, peer pressure is dangerous as it can cause adolescents to conform to dangerous behaviors. According to the Surveillance Public Data Bank, 46% of teenagers claim to have teased a friend because everybody else was doing the same thing. An Allstate survey found that 89% of teenagers say that their friends have a great impact on them when they're driving, with 56% saying that they talk on their phones while they drive and 13% text while they drive. And finally, the Mayo Clinic states that teenagers who have friends who engage in self-harm are more likely to engage in self-harm as well. Research done by the National Library of Medicine has found that people who engage in this kind of unhealthy lifestyle have been proven to develop depression and anxiety later on in their lives. And this theme isn't just present in real life, but also in works of literature. Our stimulus source, the short story Through the Tunnel by Doris Lessing, describes the story of a young boy named Jerry who struggles to go through an underwater hole but he wants to do it because he sees like the big boys do it. And Lessing describes his desire to follow the big boys as a craving that filled Jerry's whole body. This demonstrates how the biggest impact of peer actions have on adolescents, causing them to conform to unsafe behaviors and be at high risk for mental illness. And a key factor that makes peer pressure so influential is social media. A survey conducted by the Emistonian found that 70% of adolescents find peer pressure on social media. And in today's society, peer pressure takes form of social media trends. So an example of that would be the Stanley Cup. This has been a very extremely trendy thing over the past couple months now, and individuals see that people around them have been buying the Stanley Cup and they feel compelled to get one of their own. And other examples are TikTok dances, as when a TikTok dance goes viral, adolescents feel conformed to partake in it and film one of their own because they see everybody else around them doing the same thing. Senior Maya Cooper at ETHS describes how she conformed to the social media trend of flare leggings, and she did it because she didn't want to seem weird because if she didn't do it. She also describes that she always asks her friends if they're going to wear shorts in summer because she doesn't want to feel left out. The National Library of Medicine found that individuals who participate in this kind of false self-presentation are more likely to develop depression, and peer pressure coerces adolescents to become untrue to themselves, which leaves them at high risk of mental illness. However, peer pressure can be used in a positive light, as exemplified through academic pressure. Pew Research Center states that 61% of adolescents feel pressured to get good grades, but this statistic can be used in both a positive and a negative light. The same pressure that compels individuals to do things they're unwilling to do may ultimately be beneficial for them, such as disapproval of illegal, unsafe activities, and maybe encouraging a friend to get better grades and shoot higher. Senior Keith Grossman at ETHS states that his experience with peer pressure was beneficial, as the friends around him coerced him to shoot higher and be the best version of himself, and due to that, his academic career started to thrive. However, this motivation and encouragement from peers can be taken and twisted to bring harm upon the adolescent. Cross River Therapy finds that 61% of high school students feel stressed to get satisfactory grades, and 75% feel this kind of stress almost every day. And furthermore, the National Library of Medicine reports that increased levels of academic stress are significantly associated with sleep deprivation, and sleep deprivation in turn can cause depression, increase suicide rates, and risk-taking behavior. The pressure meant to help motivate students only brings about more stress and increases the risk of mental illnesses in adolescents. So how do we fix this? Peer pressure can impact adolescents both positively and negatively, but it's clear that the negative consequences far outweigh the positive impacts it might have, and it is essential to prevent this in the future. And to do that, there are two possible solutions. There is public application and in-school mental health programs. With public application, only 17% of high school students were aware of peer pressure and how it impacted their behavior. That exemplifies the need to call attention to this problem. Nonprofit organizations such as Red Cross have been calling attention to peer pressure and have also been providing tips to teenagers on how to resist it, such as saying no assertively and walking away from the situation entirely. Celebrity influence also plays a key factor in public application, as they may use their platform to bring awareness and a call to action. In our stimulus source, Simone Biles reports that she withdrew from the 2020 Tokyo Olympics because her mental just wasn't present. And being a well-known athlete, it's almost certain that she would have faced harsh criticism for her choice, but she prevailed and she bucked against ingrained culture, refusing to allow the society and societal pressure to prevent her from taking care of her emotional health. Through celebrity influence, teenagers can find comfort, resist peer pressure, and learn how to take care of their mental health. Limitations to the solution, however, is message fatigue and lack of patience. With message fatigue, hearing this call to action over and over again makes people become numb to the message and maybe ignore the problem entirely. With lack of patience, advocacy takes time and effort to actually make an impact, and impatience may prompt people to give up, rendering the solution ineffective. Our second solution is in-school mental health programs. Many state legislatures and the federal government have recognized the detrimental effects peer pressure may have, and they've taken action as exemplified through the Comprehensive Adult Education Act and the Drug Abuse Resistant Education Program, or DARE. Both of these programs have been passed through state legislatures and implemented in their states, and they both state that they will help students develop skills to enable them to resist peer pressure. These programs have been proven effective, as the National Library of Medicine has surveyed 420 high school students and have found that through these programs, those students have been able to improve their mental health by a lot. And a limitation of this, however, is that this only works if the students themselves are willing to participate and learn from the lessons provided. And after considering the limitations and implications of both solutions, it's logical to conclude that in-school mental health program would be the most effective in this situation, as public application has many more disadvantages, and there's no set proof that has actually helped teenagers resist peer pressure. And although the material taught by these kinds of programs can be ignored, public advocating may also easily be ignored. And with these kind of programs, it's already been implemented and proven to be effective. To conclude, after the research conducted on this topic and considering the limitations and implications of both the positive and the negative effects it may have, it's logical to conclude that peer pressure is detrimental to an adolescent's mental health. And the way to combat this is through implementing in-school mental health programs, which has already been proven to be effective and will be the most likely to make a change in the future. Those are my references, and thank you.
All right, so we have some questions. What evidence did you gather that you did not use? Why did you choose not to use it?
So some evidence I've gathered was testimonies from other younger generation students, from elementary school kids, and I decided not to use that because my research question geared more towards high school students and how peer pressure affects them in their mental state, while the testimonies I got from the younger students were more about complaining about how this kind of pressure wouldn't allow them to do things that they didn't want to do. And I felt that that wasn't relevant to my question, so I just took that out.
Okay. What additional questions emerged from your research? Why are these questions important?
Some additional questions that emerged from my research was, why was peer pressure so appealing to adolescents per se? Because my research was more about how peer pressure and how it affected adolescent mental health, but I didn't really get a chance to dive deep into why they keep falling into peer pressure. I discussed it in the beginning with the striatum and reward processing, but maybe there are other factors that contribute to this, such as traditions and societal pressures.
Okay.